Oh, got it.
Okay, we are live.
All right, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Apologies for the little bit of a late start. Would like to call to order this morning's Pinelands Commission meeting. Jay, can you please read the Open Public Meetings Act statement? I would just think was ready to roll off right now. Good morning.
Good morning. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Adequate notice of this meeting of the Pinelands Commission was given in compliance with the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act by providing notice to all municipal and county clerks within the Pinelands area and to the Secretary of State on December 22nd, 2022, and the Commission's officially designated newspapers on December 22nd, 2022, and by posting a copy on the Commission's website.
Thank you. Sue, can you please call the roll?
Okay. Commissioner Seltzer,
Here.
Commissioner Avery,
Here.
Commissioner Crispy, Commissioner Holroyd,
Here.
Commissioner Irick,
Here.
Commissioner Letman,
Here.
Commissioner Lobauer,
Here.
Commissioner Moriello, Commissioner Mead,
Here.
Commissioner Gillespie,
Here.
Commissioner Wallner,
Here.
Commissioner Foster. Okay, the big quorum.
Thank you. And everyone, please rise and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, and next up is adoption of the minutes. A little bit of a change here. We had last meeting in July, we had an open and closed session, so we'll be doing two separate motions. So can I get a motion to adopt the minutes of the open session?
I'll make that up.
Thanks.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. Okay. Now the minutes of the closed session from July 14th meeting. Can I get a motion and a second?
So moved.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Abstain.
Thank you. Okay,
I just clarify.
Yeah.
Commissioner Holroyd had recused himself from that and stuff in both sessions. So it's not really an abstention, it's a recusal.
okay, thank you. Thank you for that clarification. Okay, before we move on, would like to first ask folks to engage in a moment of silence in memory of Lieutenant Governor Sheila Oliver, who a trailblazer in our state and our nation for women and women of color especially, unfortunately passed away. And just in honor of her and her memory, please can we have a moment of silence? Thank you. And an additional passing of in the last week, one of our fellow commissioners, Commissioner Ed Lloyd. We have a resolution that I would like to read. So if I can get a motion in a second, please.
Lunch adoption.
I'll second.
Thank you. Okay. Resolution honoring the late Edward Lloyd for his extraordinary service and his contributions as a member of the New Jersey Pinelands Commission from November 8th, 2002 to August 5th, 2023. Whereas Edward Lloyd served on the Pinelands Commission from November 8th, 2002 until his passing on August 5th, 2023. And whereas Commissioner Lloyd was a highly active member of the commission, attending 226 Pinelands Commission's meetings during his tenure, while also serving on the agency's policy and implementation, climate, permanent land protection, public and governmental programs, agriculture, plan review, memorandum of agreement, and personnel and budget committees. And whereas Commissioner Lloyd was a strong and effective advocate for environmental protection in New Jersey, devoting countless hours of his time and his expertise in environmental law for decades. And whereas Commissioner Lloyd graduated from Princeton University with a degree in chemistry and earned his Juris Doctor degree from the University of Wisconsin, he founded and then served as the director of the Rutgers University Environmental Law Clinic for 15 years. He also founded the Environmental Law Clinic at Columbia Law School, and he taught scores of students at Columbia for 21 years, serving as an instructor, a mentor, and an inspiration for many alumni who are carrying on his lessons and legacy at agencies, including the Department of Justice, the Environmental Protection Agency, the Natural Resource Defense Council, as well as other esteemed nonprofits, interest groups, and organizations. And whereas Mr. Lloyd also served as general counsel and past executive director of the New Jersey Public Interest Research Group. He served on the New Jersey Supreme Court Committee on Environmental Litigation, and he testified before congressional and legislative committees on issues such as energy conservation, solar power, clean water standards and regulations, freedom of information, water supply planning and conservation, and solid waste. Whereas during his tenure on the commission adopted 23 sets of amendments to the Pinelands Comprehensive Management Plan, including requirements for the clustering of residential development throughout much of the Pinelands area, enhanced standards for stormwater management, a pilot program for vegetation management in electric transmission rights of way, and siting standards for solar energy facilities. And whereas during his tenure, the commission established the Pinelands Conservation Fund, which has since helped to permanently preserve nearly 9,000 acres of land in the Pinelands and has financed numerous Pinelands research, planning, and education and outreach projects. And whereas during his tenure, the commission completed numerous scientific studies, including a multi-year study of the Kirkwood-Cohansey aquifer system that lies beneath the Pinelands and contains trillions of gallons of water. The work from these studies will inform decisions that advance the commission's mission to protect the Pinelands for decades to come. And whereas during his tenure, the commission established and implemented a highly successful pilot program to test the ability of advanced wastewater treatment technologies to meet stringent Pinelands water quality standards. And whereas during his tenure, the commission approved changes to the Pinelands land capability map that reduced the size of development-oriented management areas and resulted in greater protections to nearly 14,000 acres of land. And whereas during his tenure, the commission undertook several initiatives aimed at curbing the damages wrought by illegal off-road vehicle use. This includes identifying ponds that are vulnerable to damages and have been protected through the installation of wooden barriers. It also includes the adoption of a resolution that was drafted by Commissioner Lloyd and designates roads suitable for motor vehicle use in Morton State Forest. And whereas during his tenure, the commission completed an application that resulted in the successful designation of the Pine Barrens Byway as a national scenic byway. And whereas during his tenure, the commission successfully completed a highly complex 128-page report that enabled the Pinelands National Reserve to maintain its status as an international biosphere region as designated by United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, also known as UNESCO. And whereas as a trustee for the Fund of New Jersey, Commissioner Lloyd was instrumental in obtaining the funding necessary to build the commission's Richard J. Sullivan Center for Environmental Policy and Education in 2001. The Sullivan Center later became the site of the Candace McKee Ashman Pinelands Educational Exhibits. And whereas during his tenure, the commission increased its focus on education and outreach by expanding its educational offerings with annual Pinelands themed World Water Monitoring Challenge events, the Pinelands Summer Short Course, and dozens of on-site presentations and webinars. And whereas the members of the commission want to formally honor Commissioner Lloyd for his invaluable contributions as a commissioner for more than 20 years. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the members of the Pinelands Commission hereby honor Commissioner Ed Lloyd for his service as a commissioner and extend their condolences to his family, friends, and colleagues. With that being said, I would like to open it up for any of my fellow commissioners who would like to say a few words in Ed's memory. Yeah, sure, right in.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that beautiful. I'd like to say that few stars shone as bright in the environmental community in New Jersey as that of Ed Lloyd. He was a man of high educational credentials, as we just heard, impeccable character, and extraordinary devotion to the public good. His mission was to preserve and protect New Jersey's natural environment. And he faced that mission in so many ways, not just here at the Pinelands Commission. A man so distinguished, so credentialed, he could have worked anywhere. He could have done anything. He chose to devote his near 50-year career to protection and preservation of the natural environment, not just in the courtroom, but also in legislative committee hearings, in support of local environmental groups, teaching new generations of environmental attorneys, or volunteering on public boards and commissions, as he did here with us for more than 20 years. Steadfastly, stolidly representing what he saw to be the public's interest in the Pinelands, the preservation, the protection, and enhancement of this place. He was fiercely devoted to our mission, and it was extremely important to him. He considered it a great honor to serve on this commission. He was, as you heard, rarely absent, and the few times that he was, it was largely due to health reasons. He was frail in health, and despite that frailty, he kept fighting. He kept fighting for all those years. I believe that his name deserves to be remembered and revered among the greatest environmentalists in the history of the Pinelands Commission. And there are some great names in that history. Brendan Byrne, Jim Florio, Richard J. Sullivan, Franklin Parker, Candace McKeash, and others. I see his name as ranking in that tier. I'll always be grateful that I got to serve with him here for 12 of those years. I think New Jersey has lost one of its greatest environmental champions, and I've lost a great friend. Thank you, Ed, for the life that you led and the time that you shared here with us.
Thank you, Mark. Any other commissioners?
Or I'd like to say something. I served with Ed for nearly 20 years on this commission. And while we didn't always agree on the matter that was before us, there were some things that we were in complete agreement. One was, I think, the importance of the Pinelands Protection Act and its artfully crafted revisions, which I think that he thought had contributed so much to the deliberations of this commission and its successful protection of the Pinelands National Reserve. I think we also agreed that of all the provisions of the act, the most important, the fact that the commission is completely independent to pursue this mission. Perhaps no commissioner I served with was more willing to put his personal interest at risk to ensure that it remains so. I admire that, and I will miss his wise counsel and his presence at these deliberations. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other commissioners? Go ahead, Doug.
Good. I've only been a commissioner for less than a year, but I thoroughly enjoy the council of that and something I look forward to at every meeting, getting his opinion and insight in a variety of matters. And he's an impossible resource to replace, but it's going to be a challenge without him. So he will be missed very much. So
Thank you. Any other commissioners?
Madam Chair, if I may,
Go ahead.
Ed was clearly a champion for the environment. But beyond that, he was able to articulate his point of view in such a manner that everyone understood his position. Ed clearly had a unique ability to define an issue in a straightforward manner that everyone could connect with. And that made his position well respected. And for that reason, I will and we will miss Ed's valued experience and his wisdom. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. Any other commissioners? Okay, hearing that, I would like to vote on the resolution. All in favor?
Aye.
Abstentions? Thank you. I'd like to go off book, just for a moment. I know, obviously Ed's, you know, he was a giant. And many folks, in the public echo the sentiments that we've heard today. And I'd like to just, if anyone, listening or here in the room would like to take a moment, to speak publicly in Ed's, memory, I'd like to open up the public comment period for that now. Just a reminder to everyone, this is just, in memory of Commissioner Lloyd. We will have the standard public comment periods, later in the meeting for routine business. We'll give it a minute. Is there anyone in the room? Yep, come on. Those at home dial in, if you're interested in speaking. Thank you.
Good morning, Fred Akers from the Great Harbor Watershed Association. And I started my environmental career kind of later in life, around 2002. And I came to meetings all the time. And Ed was always there, so I got to see him in action for hundreds of meetings. And he asked like the best questions. And they were very informative. And then when he came out with his proposals for action alternatives to the commission, they were very well thought out and very sensitive to all the issues involved. But I did have kind of a Ed helped me early on in my career because I came here and he taught me a fact of life that I didn't know that. So I was really trying to protect the watershed, and I would come here and I was very concerned. And I complained to the commission one time about what seems like the land that we preserved last year or recently was just going to be potentially compromised by development in the future. And he had to tell me the facts of life. And he said, Fred, he says, once you protect something, you have to keep protecting it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my comments.
Thank you, Fred. Very wise words from Commissioner Lloyd that ring true still today. Do we have anyone on the line, Paul? Not? Okay. I'm going to close then this public comment period. Obviously, again, we will have the other public comment periods for anyone who would like to speak, who did not get a chance certainly this time. Okay, moving on. Next up, we have committee chairs and the executive director's report. We're going to start with Commissioner Lobauer with a recap of the climate committee meeting.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And the climate committee met last month, on July 19th, and we received two fascinating presentations on the state's dual-use solar energy pilot program. The first presentation was by the New Jersey Board of Public Utilities, second by a company, the Lightstar Renewables, who are actually in the field of building dual-use solar. Dual-use solar is a concept that we'll be talking more about here. We'll be reviewing the state's pilot program, addressing our own policy with regard to it. In summary, it's the idea that one can apply solar installations on farmlands and still allow the farmlands to be cultivated and benefit from the way the solar is installed, and of course generate renewable electricity on those farm fields while growing crops. It's a fascinating concept. We also discussed the Pinelands Comprehensive Management Plan's current solar energy facility standards and potential amendments thereto. And finally, the staff provided us with their regular updates on state level initiatives on climate, as well as our own here in the office. Was that, thank you. Sure.
Thank you, Commissioner. Sue, your executive director.
Okay. I'm glad I have a little bit of happy good news to report this morning.
We need it.
So as you know, we have been working hard on our Kirkwood Cohasset Water Management CMP amendments for what seems like it actually is decades, 15 years maybe. We are so close to the finish line now. The governor's office has approved commissions moving forward with consideration of adoption of the rules. We learned that this week. And so they will be on the P&I committee agenda for discussion on August 25th. Be sending out all the public comments and our draft response document and adoption notice for the committee to discuss on the 25th. And then hopefully we will be able to list them for adoption on the full commission meeting agenda for September 8th, which would be a milestone. Mark noted the dual use solar topic and BPU. We're working on a pilot program in accordance with some legislation. They're obligated to do that. We are meeting with them at the end of this month. They're going to come here. I think they're excited to get out of the office and come south to the island, and they'll be here at the end of the month to talk about the pilot program. There's a waiver process in the statute that they need to go about implementing in a very careful fashion. And we will be talking with them about that, as well as maybe just some thoughts about the commission's role in this whole pilot program going forward and how we could best participate and ensure that all of our standards are met as part of that. So that was also good news. We look forward to working with them. I heard via email recently that the Pinelands Municipal Council is taking steps to reactivate and reorganize itself, which is wonderful news. I'm hoping that we, the staff here, can be helpful in that effort, whether it's hosting meetings or helping you with agendas, whatever it is. It's very good news. I get questions about that a lot. When is the council going to meet? So hopefully that'll be coming soon. I think that would be a great thing. And then finally, I just want to note an interesting meeting that some of us will be going to next week. We're going up. We ourselves are leaving the office for a change and heading north to the Highlands Council to meet with their staff. And it's a meeting that actually PPA organized. Let's see Jacqueline, but she put that together, so a number of PPA staff will be there, Highlands Coalition staff, and the Highlands Council, so we can talk about issues we have in common, concerns, things that need to be addressed. So we're looking forward to that.
Awesome, thank you. Any commissioners have any questions for Sue? Yeah, go ahead.
You just mentioned Highlands Coalition. Okay, the coalition.
Sure.
Wow.
Yeah,
I'm
I-
pleasantly.
I will report back because I'm intrigued to see how it goes.
That's very good.
All right, any other questions for Sue? All right, next up, Chuck.
Good morning, everyone. Just had a couple things I wanted to mention. As noted in the management report, we've had some activity at the Pincora Hospital facility involving one of the applications, the state justice facility, which may involve amending an existing MOA. And the second matter, which is more, both are detailed in the management report, concerns a county juvenile justice facility. Based on the initial information we have, will not require amending our memorandum of agreement. The second item I wanted to mention is earlier this week, the staff met with representatives of the Renault Winery. The Renault Winery is interested in doing some expansion work. They also have some issues of development that occurred on the winery parcel during the pandemic that have to be addressed. We're hopeful that not only those items will be addressed, but the proposed development that's coming in on the Renault Winery, which is viewed as an economic boom to Atlantic County. We're hopeful that that'll move forward also. And the third item I wanted to mention was we continue to work with Southampton Township. This is on the Big Hill Solar Facility that was constructed, which is just a little north of Route 70 near Leisure Town. The town, the applicant, the public service like gas, continue to work to try to relocate a large electrical, it's called a switch box. It was located in Leisure Town on essentially what is a cul-de-sac. The residents are understandably not happy about that. We seem to be making progress towards an alternative location for that box, and we're hopeful at the next commission meeting, we can announce to the commission that it has been relocated. And the last thing I wanted to just mention ever so briefly was about Commissioner Lloyd. As a staff member, I always appreciated, and I'll miss the fact that obviously a brilliant man, that he would question the staff, and I appreciated his questions. And they were tough questions, but they were always asked appropriately in a non-accusatory fashion. And we just wanted answers to his questions, and I always appreciated that. And to end on a light note, when I read about his life history, which I did not know all about, it does make me smile to think of Commissioner Lloyd walking in a parade. That's all I have.
Thank you. Stacy.
Good morning, commissioners. I just wanted to mention a couple of things. In the national report, if you notice, the legislature passed the bill that allocated funds that we are part of the recent round of PCIF funding, and the governor has signed the bill. So that. The other good news is, I don't know if you read the article, but there was a fourth grade class in Burlington that worked to get a bill presented to make cranberry juice in state. And that bill was signed into law this past Monday. So
We should have juice for everyone.
You stole my thunder, I'm going to use solar.
Well, you can tell the funny part, huh?
So the funny part is, people who work in other places don't always appreciate what we have. Or don't expect what we have is probably the better way to say it. So when BPU responded, they wanted to know what the parking situation was, what the security situation was, check-in procedures, et cetera. And
I hope you told them they need 7 horns of.
so that was my service to them. So I'm chuckling because no, you park in our parking lot. It's a quarter. So anyway.
You don't have to pay for parking either.
And the last thing is that TP has now adopted its flood hazard and stormwater management amendments. Those went into effect on July 17th. That's when they appeared in the register. Staff is working or is meeting now to discuss implementation of those provisions. Certain aspects of the rule will immediately go into effect at TP for permits that they reviewed. That those sort of they're now calling it legacy provisions. They no longer call grandfathering provisions, which okay. Certain legacy provisions they are not adopted by reference in our own rules, so we need to discuss what makes sense here. But they will be or now are in effect at TP with regard to their own names. I also would like to make when I started, I always found legal discussions invigorating. And I could just look over at him and I always knew when he was like, what did he say? I'm gonna miss him great. He was giant's the right word.
Yeah.
He was truly a giant. He was amazing. It's a substantial loss.
Thank you. Thank you, Stacy. Paul.
All right, good morning. My colleague Joel Mott's been very busy delivering educational presentations all over South Jersey. And he's also been working to organize educational events that we've had here at our headquarters, including last month, our Turtles of the Pinelands presentation, which was very good. People absolutely loved it. We had around 40 people. Of course, we had all the live turtles and we learned about conservation and their status here in New Jersey. Even got some tips on how to help them cross the road. And then meanwhile, Joel organized and we carried out the hand printing workshop, which entails people using leaves or other vegetation. And we had an artist show them how to make artwork out of it by using paint and pressing it onto paper. And people left with amazing works of art. I think a number of them had to be ringers or because I couldn't do any of that. So, I took pictures of them. I couldn't believe it as I was leaving. You made that. So very impressive. And, you know, I must say, and I mentioned this during our managers meeting yesterday, we don't often hear from people at our meetings, I would say, praising the commission for all the good work it does, but I hear it. I hear it on social media. I get direct messages from people. We help people out. I hear the phone calls. I hear I get the emails, and I hear it during our education programs, such as the ones I just mentioned, including people who drove from North Jersey and during the height of, like, you know, the rush hour to get here, to be here. And I think we can be happy about that. Things aren't always perfect, but I think there's a lot of people who appreciate what we do. And I wanted to convey that. That's all.
Thank you, Paul. And yeah, it's usually when people have nice, thankful things to say, they don't always say them. They're just assumed. So that's great. Thank you. All right, I think that's it. Okay. Next up, matters for commission consideration where the record is closed. All right, so we have a resolution with applications, 3 public development applications, 1 in Medford Township, demolition of an existing vacant municipal building 50 years or older. An application from DOT for installation of 7,000 linear feet of 4-foot wide sidewalk within the Route 322 right of way in Hamilton Township. And then an application from the Egg Harbor Township MUA for 200 linear feet of public sanitary sewer main within the Winnipeg Avenue right of way. Can I get a motion and a second for this resolution, please?
Motion.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any comments or Chuck, actually, anything that I neglected in my thorough overview of these applications?
No, not at all. I just items that I wanted to touch on. This is the Medford Township is the demolition of their former municipal building on Main Street. We currently have an application in to develop a brew pub on that site. The application from the Department of Transportation proposing the 7,000 linear feet of sidewalk on the Black Horse Pike. They are addressing stormwater management by removing an existing impervious surface on the property that the Department of Transportation owns. We do have a slide that shows the location of that property relative to the sidewalk. And unfortunately, Mr. Dean just walked out, so the call and he's back in, which is a good thing.
Chuck, which one is it? I have 2 slides. Hamilton sidewalk 1 or 2?
Show me Hamilton 1 and then we'll go to Hamilton 2.
Okay.
Ernie,
Here
you
it
could
is.
just spend a moment describing the location of the pavement is going to be removed to offset the 7,000 linear feet of sidewalk. Sure. That's Ernest Beeman of your staff.
All right, Ernie, is this sidewalk 1? Because
Yes, it's sidewalk 1.
I have a lot open right now. Let me. Okay.
This is a quick overview of the area. This is the Black Horse Pike, Route 40 and Cologne Avenue. Sidewalks are proposed from here to approximately here for pedestrian traffic. They're also proposed right here where Route 40 and 322 meet. And then finally here where Rainbow Barrel meets 322 and 40. When we zoom in on the next aerial, it's going to be in this general vicinity. So please note this. You go to Hamilton 2.
Okay. That's it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Again, this is the Black Horse Pike Route 322, Cologne Avenue. There's sidewalks proposed
starting approximately here, which is actually the entrance road to Oakrest High School, and down to the east. This is an old commercial development that's still actually impervious. There is some slight vegetation coming up through cracks from when I believe it was a commercial restaurant was removed years ago. That's the area that's going to be removed to compensate for the area of sidewalk that's being proposed. This area all drains slightly here to the northeast and then eventually back out to the Great Harbor River, which is where all the development, all the runoff from development goes.
Thank you, Ernest. Be happy to answer any questions on the pre-applications, Madam Chairperson.
Thank you. Any commissioners have questions? Go ahead.
Ernie and Chuck, I appreciate your showing those photos. I was going to ask. And obviously in reading the application, seeing that the sidewalk that's going in is actually going to encroach in the buffer area, the wetlands for more than half of it. I was pleased to see that the DOT plan to remove an equivalent amount of pervious surface, and I was curious to know what it was. So I'm grateful that you showed it. I think that this is a very helpful development there. I mean, it's obvious, lots of residential development near the Milton Mall and the high school, lots of possibility for pedestrian activity, and yet no sidewalks. I don't know why it is in New Jersey when we have developments of malls and shopping centers that more often than not, there are no sidewalks there. They just designed for cars. So I think this is very helpful, but I'm grateful that the DOT realized that, yeah, we should remove at least an equivalent of impervious surface for our stormwater issues. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other commissioners, questions or comments?
Jeff, the area that's gonna be removed, they purchased that now.
Yeah, that is actually owned by the New Jersey Department of Transportation.
Oh,
I mean, it's the different departments.
Yes.
Any other comments or questions? All right, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? Okay. Next resolution, an application for public development with conditions from the town of Hamilton for construction of a 3,627 linear foot earthen berm associated with the municipal treated wastewater land application sites in Hamilton. Obviously. Can I get a motion in a second?
So
All right, thank you, Chuck. This one.
Certainly, Madam Chairperson, just ever so briefly, and then I'll be happy to answer any questions commissioners may have. This is the town of Hamilton is proposing rather long earthen berm, a little over half a mile, for the purposes of containing possible runoff of overland treated wastewater should there be a failure in their overland drip irrigation system. Some commissioners may remember that there's some litigation surrounding this matter between Hamilton and an adjacent property owner. We did receive requests which are attached to the report from the law firm that are representing the adjacent property owner. We have not received any further information. We consider this a matter between Hamilton and that adjacent property owner. And yeah, we have not received a request for reconsideration. We've been advised that there's ongoing settlement discussions between the property owner and the town of Hamilton. And this application is before the commission today for action.
All right, thanks, Chuck. Any questions or comments for Chuck? All right, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right. Next up, resolution for an application for public development, again in Hamilton, this time from the Board of Education for construction of an 11,987 square foot addition to the Hamilton Early Childhood Education Center. Can I get a motion in a second?
I'll make that motion.
You in a second?
Second.
Right, Chuck,
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. I just wanted to note for the commissioners that there is a violation. This result is involved in this particular application. The report summarizes that violation. Essentially, the commission approved back in 2000 an addition to this school and a parking lot for unknown reasons. A much larger addition and a much larger parking lot were constructed. The commission had been writing to Hamilton Board of Education about this matter for some time. This application pending before you today arrived, and it has served as an incentive to resolve that violation. There's a condition that was included in the report, condition number 5, that indicates that Hamilton had to submit all the information by yesterday to substantially complete the application to resolve the violation. They have in fact done that. That application will be before the commission for public comment in September and a vote in October. So we are happy to resolve a violation. It's unfortunate that it occurred, and I'll be happy to answer any questions about the currently pending application.
Thanks, Chuck. Any questions or comments for Chuck? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Next one. Okay, next up, I was like, Sue, for briefing on the municipal master plan ordinance. Oh, I do, okay. All right, can I get a motion in a second, please? Thank you. And a second.
I'll second.
Thank you. All right, now. It's
So just a couple minutes, because typically this would have been an ordinance that was reviewed and discussed by the P&I committee before it came to the full commissions. But we had to cancel the July P&I meeting, and so there was no opportunity for that. So it's come directly to the commission. We've had to do that from time to time over the years, although this is the first time in a while, but just a quick overview. Paul's going to show, I think, maps, hopefully. This is a redevelopment plan, a new redevelopment plan adopted by Pemberton Township. That's very fun. So hopefully you can see in red, the red outline is the boundary of the newly designated area in need of redevelopment. Yes, there are wetlands in a portion of the redevelopment area and required wetlands buffers, which you can see on the map there. However, there is an area of uplands outside of those constrained areas. And that is where the redevelopment plan directs new development to go. This is in a regional growth area. It is currently zoned 2 different zones, both residential zoning districts. So there's already a good amount of housing just based on the existing zoning plan permitted here. All single family detached units, that's the current zoning. The redevelopment plan is also calling for residential development, but it permits both single family homes and townhouses for the first time, which just in my opinion will help in terms of clustering the units in the upland area away from the buffer and the wetlands. I think that is actually a significant improvement. And it's also part of the township's many year-long effort now to increase the variety of new housing that's built in Pemberton and around Browns Mills and Country Lakes and all of those areas. For many years, their zoning really called only for single family homes, and more recently they have taken steps to broaden that to include townhouses, apartments over new retail, and a variety. So I think that that's a really good thing. They found a site that they believe is appropriate for that type of development. They have a redeveloper who's interested in building the project, all very good news. We made sure in our review of the plan that it incorporated all of the commission standards as well as the requirement for the redemption of Pinelands development credits. There's a 25% requirement in there for whatever units, whatever type they are, however many they ultimately build. There will be a mandatory obligation to redeem PDCs. So that was really our primary concern here. And I think just in terms of numbers, 31 acres in total. You can see it's surrounded by some existing residential development and I think a school there nearby as well. They are permitting, right, they're permitting a total of 91 units ultimately in the area. And there is an affordable housing obligation included. 13% of the units are required to be affordable housing. And I think that's really all I wanted to know. So I think that this is, you know, just it's a good example of the township being careful in identifying an area and appropriate housing types and working real closely with us to make sure the redevelopment plan incorporated all the requirements to be consistent with the CMP. So we are recommending certification.
Great, thank you. Any questions or comments on this from any commissioners?
Madam Chair, if I may,
Yep, go ahead, Jared.
I continue to struggle with redevelopment in that it appears to me that this is a vacant piece of property. And how can a vacant property be redeveloped when it's not developed? So I continue to struggle. With that definition. I would like we have, as I understand it, in these redevelopment plans, which are coming fast and furious. We are upgrading our requirements to include mandatory PDCs, which I think is a good thing. I would like to see us also include mandatory solar energy on these high density projects, meaning not necessarily the whole site solar, but a percentage of the site should be solar, particularly with these redevelopment plans that, in my mind, generate high density. I'd just like to hear if there's any way we could incorporate that in future consideration.
So I share your struggle with vacant properties being designated as redevelopment areas. However, as we've talked about over the years, you know, the local development redevelopment law does allow municipalities to use that. One of the criteria is land have sat undeveloped for a period of time. And so it's vacant, but there's been no development interest, and they can use that as a way of declaring an area to be in need of redevelopment. It's not their traditional way of thinking about development, certainly, but this is and somebody else has acted and rules to enable, you know, to implement that. Many of our municipalities and throughout the state you're seeing that. So, you know, our role really is not to enforce that or to argue with the municipality about whether it really meets the criteria for redevelopment, but just to make sure that whatever they select is an appropriate area, that the plan recognizes any environmental limitations, requires consistency with our standards, and yes, PDC, of course. As far as solar facilities go, I like the idea. I think that requires an amendment to the CMP. Ben Lloyd, we're here today. He would on his head say have to do rulemaking first. Which he loved, by the way, I have to say that, and really enjoyed the rulemaking process.
For a question on that, I think that we are in some fashion requiring mandatory PTC, which is similar to change in how we've done business in the past. Why wouldn't solar requirements be approached in the same manner?
So the PDC obligations or requirements that you've been seeing in these higher density redevelopment plans come about because a municipality wants to do something slightly different than what our PDC rules require. So in this case, Pemberton wanted to exempt affordable housing units from the PDC obligation. So we were able to work with them on the more creative approach to PDCs rather than requiring PDC regardless of the type of housing. When a municipality proposes something different, we can look at our PDC requirements and sort of modify them to meet what the town is trying to do in a way that still meets our rules. We don't have anything like that in the CMP for solar energy facilities, so there's really nothing to sort of build on. If a town, if Pemberton came in and said we want to require this, which they did do For their large redevelopment area, if you recall not too long ago, they built in some requirements for rooftop solar. In their housing project. That's great, and the commission can approve that because it doesn't conflict with anything in our rules. But we don't really have any mechanism now in the rules to say, well, we want solar to be required, or we want sidewalks to be required, or we want different traffic patterns. We don't have those standards. So we can suggest things, but we can't require.
Could we suggest that they include a percentage of solar, just like we're suggesting mandatory PVC? Or is it negotiated in terms of how many PVC they're required to provide? Why don't we negotiate how much solar they can provide?
Yeah, I think maybe it's just a case of semantics. I don't think the town views the PDC as negotiations. Because it's mandatory, you know, and so we would just need to make sure that they're clear on that if commissioners have an interest in seeing more solar in these redevelopment areas, or more, you know, clustering and open space has come up a couple of times. We can certainly, you know, float those things out to the municipality if they ask us to review things in advance to tell them that we are interested. I think, you know, better yet is for the climate committee and the commissional committee to consider where and how the commission might want to require solar facilities, whether it's high density redevelopment areas or large commercial sites. It's one of those things that truly the commission should go first and set, you know, out the standards and think carefully about where it's appropriate to do that. But if we can mention that as it comes up.
Pose it, but it seems to me that it's much more efficient to provide the solar where it's going to be used than out in the ocean where it's got to be transported to where it's going to be used. I mean, I'm not against solar in the ocean, because it seems to me that it would be a much more efficient manner. So thank you.
Thanks, Jerry.
Madam Chair,
Yeah, go ahead.
I think we're all neglecting to include in this conversation is our energy provider, who has to then accept the new created energy, and can it accept it? Does it have the capacity, the infrastructure? This is problematic on every development. So to mandate a particular clean energy project on any project generically, you need to include your energy provider to say, can you accept that? Do you have the infrastructure? Do you have the substations to take this kind of energy? Otherwise, it's super expensive to build that infrastructure to accept that solar, even though it's a valuable piece of energy. It's problematic and isn't cost effective. So that's why I would not support a regulation that mandates solar. And I was there in the beginning with solar, and these are the problems that cropped up. PSC&G, Atlantic City Electric, Exelon, JCP&L, they need to be consulted wherever these projects get proposed, because their infrastructure needs to accept it.
Well, I think exactly, and I think that's part of the discussion that the climate committee and the commission as a whole needs to have, is recognizing the reality of the situation today and in the future, and in crafting any kind of requirement.
And you're having BPU visit here. That's a source of a conversation with that.
That was what I was gonna say. This BPU that needs to be part of the discussion. Is infrastructure upgrades, and they'll know what's actually pending before them in terms of infrastructure upgrades. There's a lot going on in terms of getting the grid resilient enough to accept.
Just to echo the senator's comment, it was brought to us by BPU that many infrastructures can't handle solar at their last meeting. So there's no question that the infrastructure needs to be consulted. But I was more interested in using on-site the solar. In other words, instead of trying to promote to the grid, let's just put some solar here that would serve the immediate area and not necessarily go into the grid. But
Or be distributed in a community sense in close proximity.
correct.
So there's all these pending, why BPU and energy providers need to be part of that particular initiative.
Thank you.
Laura,
Go ahead.
and I have a conversation that I wish I was here because I think you have to look back to the act. The Pinelands Protection Act permits the commission to adopt a transfer of development rights program, which is what the PDCs are. But I don't think it speaks to mandating energy sources or uses and building codes and things like that. So I think you have to be careful that you be consistent with what our statutory authority is.
Thank you, Chair. This is a fascinating discussion. And yes, Alan, I agree with you, and I agree with Jeffrey. Clearly, these are urgent times. There was a conference out in California last week by PG&E, Pacific Gas and Electric, at which they were told, the leadership there was told by Elon Musk, one of the leading energy entrepreneurs in our country, that over the next 10 years, we should expect in America to see a tripling of demand for electricity. That means electricity generation needs to be able to triple, and our grid structure needs to be able to accommodate that. We shouldn't be sitting idly by, tied to the conventions of what was done in the past, or what mandate we may have had. And I don't mean to sound cavalier about that, Alan. You're absolutely right about our statutory mandate, but I do think that it's high time that we look at what we're permitted to do and examine, is that enough? Should we be doing more? I happen to agree with Jerry that this is a good time for us to be examining whether or not when new development occurs in Pinelands, should we be looking to the energy use of that new development and possibility for energy production, and what can we do to try to facilitate that, possibly through mandates. All of that would require amendments. So anyway, I support that. I'm really thrilled that we're supporting this resolution that will lead to mandatory credits for us, where we did not have it before. So anyway, all positive, but I'm going to take this as a direction to the climate committee to start that discussion. So let's try to get that on the agenda soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Next, public comment on public development applications and waivers of strict compliance. Looks like we have 2 public development projects and 1 waiver of strict compliance. Public development project, the first one is in Berkeley Township. Expansion of the existing municipal complex. And then another one in Stafford Township, installation of a 4,500 linear feet. There's a typo.
There's an extra word in there.
Threw me off more than it should have. 4,500 linear feet of potable water main within the Route 72 right of way. And the waiver of strict compliance is an application for a single family dwelling in Southampton Township. I don't think, nope, we just open it up. Open it up. Those at home, numbers on the screen. Is there anyone in the room who wishes to give public comment on either of these 3 items? All right, seeing no one, will give folks at home a second.
Madam Chairperson, while we're waiting, I could note for public and the commission's benefit is that the application that is open for public comment in Berkeley Township is the companion application to resolve the violations that were associated with the expansion of the municipal complex that we discussed when we were working on the landfill capping and the proposed solar facility. And the commissioners have expressed great concern with making sure that application moved forward to resolve the violations. So I am happy to announce that it's up for public comment today and the commission considering that application next month.
That's awesome. Thank you, Chuck.
We have two callers.
$2. All right, let's go.
Caller, you are live on our meeting. Can you please mute your computer?
Yes,
Okay, can you state your name for the record?
Wilson Klein.
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
Wilson Klein, Klein.
Okay, the floor is yours.
Good morning, Pinelands Commissioners. My name is Wilson Klein. I live in Lumberton Township. Lived here for the past 5 years. My question concerns the project in Browns Mills, and just to find out if the commission knows if that is going to be developed under the pilot tax program. I know in Lumberton there's several new developments going in along Route 38 that are using the pilot tax program, and I feel this is an unfortunate way to take away from the existing homeowners and residents of a town who do have to pay taxes, and now these redevelopments are getting tax-free or tax abatements for a period of time. Thank you for allowing my question.
All right, thank you. Chuck.
If I may, Madam Chairperson, I don't believe the public comments regarding any of the applications that are currently open for public comment. We appreciate the comment and the question, and perhaps if it's posed later in the meeting, we could address that at that time.
Absolutely. I think maybe if we can make a note of that instead of asking this gentleman to call back in, if we could just make a note that when we get to the general public comment period, we can talk about this to address that issue. That would be great. All right, thank you. We had another caller, I think.
We did, I don't know where they it seems to have gone away. That's the same caller. We had a second caller. Caller, if you want to call back, we'll get you in.
All right, we can, yeah, they can call back during the public comment period at the end of the meeting. We don't want to hold it up too long. All right, next up, Sue, some master plans and ordinances that do not, yep.
Madam Chair, if I may,
Yeah.
may I ask a question about the Stafford Township project?
Of course.
Couple of questions and comments. Number one, of the close to a mile of linear feet of potable water, is there any wetlands involved?
There are wetlands in proximity to the water main. I'm not certain, I'm 99% sure that there is not any wetlands involved with the actual development, but there is close to wetlands on the north side of Route 72, but it's not in wetlands.
Because that leads to my HDD question. And so I would just like us to take a look at that and make sure that there's no inadvertent returns in all. And second point is, does this mile of water main serve an existing or proposed development?
I don't know the answer to that question. We'll cover that in the report when we issue the report. I suspect both, but I don't know the definitive answer to that question.
So that leads me to, as you know, Atlantic County is a sending district for PVCs. And I have in the past brought up an expansion of the requirement to purchase PVCs, particularly as it relates to development, municipal types of development. And it would seem that this is the type of development that I would look at and say maybe we could envision some purchase of PVCs, particularly if this water main is going to spur additional development. So I'd just like that to be considered, if you will, as we move forward on that property. Thank you.
Thanks, Jerry. Okay, any other commissioners? I forgot. I didn't ask. Okay, now on to Sue with some plans and ordinances that do not require any commission action today.
Right, so it's not as long a list as we've had in the last several months, and nothing really particularly of note. Stormwater ordinance for Mulligan Township in response to our own amendments, some revisions to existing redevelopment plan in Medford in a regional growth area to allow, a cell tower. Again, it is a growth area. There are a variety of non-residential use permitted in that redevelopment area. A lot of existing development in that redevelopment area, so that is consistent with your standards. And then just master plan report from Dennis Township with a variety of recommendations, none of which really rise to a level of concern for the commission. Barnegat Township continues to tinker with the permitted uses and requirements in one of its neighborhood commercial zones in a regional growth area. They call this the CN, which is commercial zone west. They already permit a variety of commercial uses, apartments above commercial uses, assisted living facilities, nursing homes. They're adding to their retirement community with no impact on PDC requirements remain intact. All standards still apply, so no substantial issues with any of these. And that's about it for this month's list. Thank you. Any questions or comments for Sue? All right, hearing none. Next up, we have a presentation. Kind of like the book ending of our meeting, celebrating the esteemed lives and careers of two individuals at the beginning. And then we're closing the meeting with the representation of the future. There is a presentation on the 2023 Rutgers Summer Service Internship from our intern, and I'd ask Evan to come up and do a little intro, please, if you could.
Sure. Good morning. My name is Evan Bassett. I'm the manager of the information systems here at the Pinelands Commission. Thank you very much. And I'm very grateful that Susan made me aware of this Rutgers internship program and opportunity, and that we were allowed to participate. From my personal experience, I think these sorts of opportunities can be really transformative for young students, as they look for careers in future life. So we work very hard to try to give Shinanwe, who we introduced during our June meeting, a very diverse and in-depth experience here, try to introduce it with all the aspects of what the Pinelands Commission does. Most importantly, of course, the business of our office in the information system. And with that being said, I have to say thank you to my lead application developer, Matt Martin, who did an exceptional job mentoring her directly throughout the summer. He got to have the most direct interaction. I knew there would be a perfect fit because he has 5 children of his own. And so I thought there would be synergy there. And there truly was. So again, I just wanted to say that I'm a proud Rutgers alum and really had high hopes for the program. But when we interviewed the 10 candidates that they presented to us, I was really just floored. They were all intelligent, or well-spoken, altruistic, volunteering through hospitals or EMS. I mean, you name it. And we had to rank our selections. I would have taken any or all of the 10. But I'm really proud to say that we got our top choice, and we couldn't be more happy. Shinanwe has been professional, attentive. She asks relevant and insightful questions when we ask her to come to meetings with us. She was a self-starter and worked independently through Matt's mentorship. But then once he had set her up on a direction, she would learn the technologies on her own and take things as far as she could before asking, again, very insightful questions of him. And I only got to overhear a little on, in my daily work. But the interactions, I could tell, were very beneficial. So the only sad part about this is I can't believe that the summer is already over. It feels like we were just introducing her. It passed much faster, so I wasn't able to get Shani as involved in the other offices as I would have liked. In fact, I'm sure there are some employees, given our remote work hybrid schedule, she may not have even met, unfortunately, but you know, we do expect to hopefully participate in this program in the future. I would look forward to that very much. And we're also hoping that Shani chooses to stay in touch and maybe even agrees to work with us in some capacity in the future. We would be very honored by that. So you know, with that, I'd also like to mention that we have a small gift of our appreciation for her on her departure. But with that, I'd like to give Shani his word of the floor.
Thank you very much. Much for the kind words. I'm Chinayo Zaburo. I am a rising senior at Rutgers University. I am majoring in computer science and minoring in mathematics and social justice. I got my internship through the Rutgers Summer Service Internship Program. I applied in December of 2022, went through a screening process. My first interview was with Mr. Edwin, and like he said, it was honestly, it made every other interview of the day much better. But I'm so happy to have had this experience. My internship began on June 5th, and today is unfortunately my last day. The Rutgers Summer Service Internship internship program is an initiative that is in its second year running. It provides students the opportunity to spend their second or third year summers interning in public service organizations. It expects students to work for a minimum of 150 hours over 10 to 12 weeks at public service non-profit organizations and direct service government offices. The students are also expected to participate in a virtual asynchronous course that is designed to explore public service and build professionalism skills. The students earn a $5,000 stipend and also expected to engage in other programs as well during the time. During my time at Pinelands here, I worked in the information system department under the guidance of Mr. Evan and Mr. Matthew. I attended the meetings, commission meetings, and I also attended the climate meeting, which I love because I have a soft spot for green solutions. And I was assigned to implement features primarily to the resolution log and the resolution ad pages of the Pinelands website application, which also involved database management. If you open the Pinelands web application, this is the first page you will see. And like I said, I primarily worked on the resolution log and resolution ad pages. This is the resolution log page. If you just click search, you would see records dated as far back as 1979. And I worked to make searching for specific records easier because I know one of the main aims or goals of the information system department is to digitize the records that the Pinelands has because you have thousands of records. And it'll be hard to just go through forward, of course. So now you can search by resolution number. If you want to search for records just this year, you can just put PC4, sorry. And also I included this button to see like motions, number of commissioners who voted in favor or against or abstained from motion. If you just search for PC4, you see records that were resolutions that passed this year. Specifically, you can also search by resolution type. These are the types that are available currently, and I searched, for example, for public development, and this is what will pop up right now. And also, like I said, I worked on the resolution ad page, so you can add new records easily. And if you were to add anything that was made today, you could easily be able to do that through this page now. I also participated in the short summer course. I thoroughly enjoyed this experience. I think someone told me they haven't gone. I would highly recommend going. It's really great. It was on June 6th. I took courses on the legends of the Lord of Pine Barrens, history of the Pine Barrens and the Molucca River paddle exploration. It gave me the opportunity to learn more about the Pinelands because I honestly did not know about this area. I've only been in New Jersey for about 5 or 6 years now. So this is my first time hearing about it, during my experience so far. And it also gave me opportunities to interact with the community and the people that the commission aims to serve. My key takeaways from this experience, I have been able to learn about the Pinelands and the commission's mission. I have been able to learn a lot about public service, web development with ASP.NET and C#, database management, and managing an enterprise level code. Of course, this is more directly linked to my major. I would like to thank you to Executive Director Susan, the commissioners, Charlene, who made this opportunity possible. I also like to thank Mr. Evan, Mr. Matthew, and Ms. Janet for the guidance and mentoring throughout this process. Thank you very much. I will thoroughly miss here. I will look forward to being back.
Well, thank you so much. I was not at the June meeting, so I didn't get a chance to meet you, but thank you so much for your work over the summer and this presentation. And you did a wonderful job, not just with the presentation, but also with all of your work. And we hope this is not the last time that we see you here, and look forward to following your success and your career over the years. So thank you very much. Thank you.
You'll need scissors.
Okay, general public comment period. Let's open the line. Are there any folks in the room who wish to make public comments?
I should note too, the person who called earlier is still online. If they wanted to speak again, the concern was if I had removed them, they wouldn't be able to call back in.
Okay.
So they're still
Yeah,
there.
right. Do you mind if we just start with this gentleman who called? Okay. Chuck, I think you knew a little bit about the issue that the gentleman was speaking about. Or Susan, okay.
So let me just, in response to the question about the Pemberton development that was raised earlier on in the meeting. No, there is no application pending for any project in Pemberton, but I suspect the comment was related to the redevelopment plan that you all just approved. So we don't have an application for that project right now, at least not that's completed and ready for the staff to review and act on. I'm not aware as to whether the township is part of any kind of pilot for them or whether they have. We're typically, the commission is typically not privy to the details of any redeveloper's agreement that a municipality normally enters into with a designated redeveloper. We don't participate in those agreements. We don't see them. So whatever financial or tax arrangements the township may have made with this particular redeveloper, that's just not information that we have. That would need to be addressed with the municipality. And that's my best guess as to what the question related to. Okay, hopefully that.
Thank you. All right, Fred.
I'm back again. And I will say that I really like the Pinelands Commission.
Thank you.
I really do. I think you're doing a great job of it, but except for being impressed with the set of commissioners that are here. However, there is one concern, and you know, Ed's untimely departure kind of highlights that, is that there's open seats. And I'm really hoping that the governor and the Senate can proactively, you know, maybe this Ed's passing will inspire them to fill the seats, but I think you're doing pretty good. And I was going to talk about redevelopment in my comments, and I've been kind of I've been lurking on YouTube instead of coming to the meeting, so you can't see me. But I want to talk about redevelopment, but you kind of already talked about some of the things I was concerned with. I mean, in the beginning, when redevelopment came out, it seemed like the idea was if there was old used up buildings that were like, that there needed to be an incentive for a redeveloper to remove them and build something newer and better. And now it seems to be something else. It's something else. And one of the things I see is that if a development becomes redevelopment, it's a way to circumvent local zoning. So, and it politicizes the development process. So that now the elected officials are the ones that decide if the location for the development is redevelopment area. And the cannabis thing that's happening now is interwoven with redevelopment all over the place. It's rattling around. That's another example. But I wanted to tell you this story. Susan, you probably know a little bit about this story, but it happened in Hamilton Township. It's a redevelopment story. So there was a redevelopment proposal in Hamilton Township that was to build a very large sports complex village in the woods, in a piece of woods next to Pomona Woods by the airport. And it was in the rural development area, which you all know prohibits sewer. So that was a proposal that was coming up through Hamilton Township, through the elected officials and through the professionals there. And it seemed like it was an effort to circumvent Pineland zoning with redevelopment. And what occurred is the public wasn't going to have this. The public knows the Pinelands Commission zone. So the public created a Facebook. The public bought gear, and the public went to public meetings of the town, questioning. It's like spot zoning. So they were questioning how they could do this. And in the end, the administrator got fired, the economic development director got fired, and the mayor got voted out. And there's a good chance that the land, the trees, may be that the owners might sell them for open space and it might become part of Pomona Woods. So there's an example of the grassroots coming in and nipping that one in the bud. So it didn't come here, so I just wanted to make sure you were aware of that. I was going to talk about the Monroe development with the PDCs, which is good, and that was another one where the road wasn't a buildings to be demolished. And lastly, I want to talk about my favorite redevelopment project. I think you'll appreciate it. It's not exactly in the Pinelands, but it's in Beasley's Point. And it's an old school redevelopment where they're removing the old development, which just happened to be the BLM power plant. So they're removing that, and it's almost done. And I think they're going to implode the biggest piece on October 26th. So, and it's I didn't think I would ever see that in my lifetime, the power plant to be removed. And two of the uses that are in there now are electric power. So one of them is the existing substation that took the power from the coal-fired power and put it up into the grid. It's going to stay there. And then there's going to be a second new substation that's going to receive electricity from ocean wind. And it'll come in there, and I think they have to transform it and do things to it, and then it will go to the Atlantic Electric substation, and then we'll go up into the grid. But they're also talking about having a hotel there and a marina and some residential uses. A lot of restoration is going on, and there will be, I think, there's a focus on recreational amenities too. So redevelopment is just kind of weird, but you seem to have it under control.
So,
Thank you.
so Fred, that would be an example in your mind of the proper use, an old dilapidated energy plant now that's getting demolished and rehabbed into something more environmentally sensitive, maybe some housing, limited use.
Yeah, it's the right way to redevelop.
Exactly.
It
The
was
word, you used that word blight, and that was the original piece of redevelopment legislatively was always that key word was blight. And in this case, I think Jerry touched on it, open space and land is not considered blight. But the stretching of that redevelopment law now is becoming a very lucrative thing for a lot of attorneys right now, to be honest with you.
Well, they kind of connected light to low land value.
Yeah.
So
Low land
if
values,
the
right?
woods is cheap, it's not producing the economics that development do. So somehow that's why. And I have to say back to the commission that you have an increased focus on carbon and trees. And I think that is kind of an antidote to part of this. So if you want to redevelop in the woods, have you accounted for the carbon impacts on that? So hopefully trees will become more valuable. Better.
Thanks, Fred. Any other folks in the room who wish to make public comment? Yeah.
Hey, everyone, Jason Howell, Pinelands Reservation Alliance, and, I just want to start with saying Ed was such a rock. It's somebody, being somewhat new to this, not really new to that now, but, going on maybe 7 years being involved with the Pinelands at a professional level, of course, I've been here all my life. Ed was somebody that I always saw as somebody that was almost like a rock in shifting seas or shifting sand. So, I think he's somebody that we could really use as an example of, just the best kind of public service. So, just wanted to say that. And shifting to what Fred was talking about with the redevelopment agenda, it is somewhat advantageous in the sense that we can actually use the grassroots to combat unwise development plans like the Trophy Park proposal by Pomona Woods. But it does require then, say, Green Acres or another land conserving entity to then pick up that land. So one of the things that is becoming more challenging is to move that land that really, its best use is for conservation into preservation. So Green Acres is taking a very long time to really make a decision on whether or not they're going to preserve these parcels that are rejected from redevelopment. And that's a concern for me because can we keep up that grassroots momentum? So that's more of a question I just want to put out there into the universe. How can we get Green Acres to speed up on some of these acquisitions in the Pinelands? Because there's many different large parcels of land kind of just hanging out there. So Pomona Woods is one that Fred was talking about. Amatol is another. We can talk more about that, but trying to reconnect Green Acres to the Pinelands Commission, I think would be a really valuable thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Jason. Any other public comments? Go ahead. Just state your name, please.
Connie Wagner. Before I start, there's a town in Texas that uses solar, and each house has its own battery collection area in the garage. So that, the grid is a scary thing these days, and I know we have a lot of trees and we don't have the sun that like Florida and California have, but it's an alternative for something that could be an addition to whatever other source related to the ESSER electric they have in the house. First of all, I would like to say that Commissioner Lloyd, I didn't know him, I wish I did. I know I cheered up from hearing everybody talk about him. He sounded like a wonderful man. And Commissioner Lubauer, you mentioned that how he was interested in preserving all of New Jersey, not just the Pinelands. And that really touched home for our group. We are on the borderline of the Pinelands. and right above Black Run Preserve. And we have a very environmental community. I don't know if anyone knows Sturbridge Lakes. It's kind of an enigma in between highway and other developments, and we try to be as natural as possible. We prevent people from putting too much grass. We only have 20% of the entire yard. And any trees that are removed, they have to be approved. And in many cases, a smaller caliber tree might be added so that we maintain the greenery. With what is being proposed right along our border with a high density housing, over 290 houses or apartments or dwellings are proposed in 175 acres. And this would really demolish the trees that are on our border that we rely on for shade, the animals, staying cool. Especially now in global warming times, it's proven that the temperatures in cities are at least 4 degrees warmer in the summers, hard surface. All of this is really a detriment to what we need to do to preserve our way of life, which is encroaching from all sides, and the property values will definitely go down. If we don't have our lakes, that's what people move in there for. Realtors have all told us the same house in another area would be $100,000 less. So it would be nice if that high density to offset the Black Run headwaters could have a different location that really doesn't have the beauty that this highland forest does. Is a high density, mature growth area, and it really is a gorgeous area. I have some just to give you an idea. We have so it's not only a Sturbridge Lakes, but it's Sturbridge Woods, it's Sturbridge Estates, and now Marlton Lakes, which is in Evesham, has also come on board with us to try and find some other way of encouraging everyone to find another location for this offset. And that's about all. You'll definitely be hearing more from us in the future, but we wanted to, and I appreciate Executive Director having us up to give a whole presentation of the area just a short time ago. It was very informative and welcoming to our group, so appreciate that.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to, no, it's okay. I don't have a question. I just, for the commissioners who may not be completely understanding what the discussion here is about, because I know there are others here in the room who may also want to make comments. This relates to a set of amendments to the CMP that the commission has been talking about adopting for, I don't know, 20 years. Black Run watershed protection. And the idea of protecting the watershed itself, about, I don't know, probably close to 700-800 acres, 1,000 acres. Making that into a forest area of down zoning, reducing development potential within the watershed, and allowing all of that housing development to be transferred, if you will, clustered and built in an area outside the watershed. Near the Borden's border, and that's what Trump thing. Now, those have not been adopted. Those amendments have not been formally proposed by the commission. They resulted from the Southern Medford Evesham Regional Plan that was done back in maybe 2005. And so that's that's what's triggering the concern, is the potential for the commission adopting rules that would facilitate a transfer of development to a designated area outside the watershed. We don't have any applications pending for that development. We don't have any rules proposed. It's just something that's been sort of discussed over these many years at various public meetings, and with the township, and so anyway, that's what's triggering the concern. I just didn't want you to think that there's anything pending before the commission that's about to be adopted. There's no projects being reviewed or any of that. It's just concepts that were included in that plan that are of concern at this point.
Just
Thank you. Yes.
some clarity on location. Is that Route 73?
It's right, yes.
It's across from Virtual Hospital, isn't it?
Exactly.
And it's a development built by Canuso Group in the 80s, correct? Scarborough, Canuso, that group. Kept Pepper on right. Mhm.
My name is Dr. Indy Golden. I am a trustee and ambassador of the Black Run Preserve. And I happen to also live in Sturbridge Lakes. For 10 years, I fought to protect the Pinelands National Reserve. While we're talking about that, I just wanted to show you some aerial photographs that I obtained. And one is dated in 1984. And you can see here the area in question above the watershed. This is the landfill, you can see right there, and this is all the area that I believe is being discussed to be changed to forest, except for 175 acres right along Sturbridge Lakes border. This is the current, yeah, sure, I'm just gonna talk about that. This is a current picture, and you can see that that area has not changed in 40 years. In fact, we have aerial photographs that show it hasn't changed in 100 years. So I guess that's why we're concerned about coming into that area. I just want to show you a minute.
Okay, can I just say that if you're gonna show us photographs, we have to keep them now, that's part of the record, so I didn't want you to. Be concerned if we didn't give them back. Same for maps, so if you're gonna show us anything, you're gonna have to either email it to us later or.
Okay, because this is part of the open space and recreation plan from 2012. Yes, each. And I just wanted to point out that the area that has been marked for regional growth development that is considered uplands, not good integrity. It shows in the map here, which was made by the NJDOT, and DVRPC, that all of that land was marked critical. Take a look at that. So there's a few points that we're contesting with the plan. I also wanted to make a statement that with a picture of the trees, I understand that if you're looking at mature forest, a mature forest includes 100 to 200 trees, and as you can see from the picture, it's extremely dense forest area there. And so up to 17,500 trees could be destroyed if we do a cluster development in that area. And we're concerned about the repercussions to the wildlife there. We have several threatened and endangered species that have been reported adjacent to the area, including box turtles, fowler's toads, ground skink. And we also have eagles who regularly visit our lakes. So we're concerned about the effect on the rest of the development. So I would encourage you all to reconsider this plan, and we'll be presenting more information at the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
So historical perspective on this development was the boom years in the 80s and those particular communities along 73. You were part of it. I guess, when did you move in there?
I didn't move in until 2007.
Okay. For everybody to understand, these are where major sports personalities that play for the Eagles, the Phillies, and the Philadelphia Flyers live. Right? I know somebody, I know this place very, very well. And in those particular years, this was all accepted by the community, that whole development along 73. So what you're saying is end of it, stop. You don't want to see any more of this continued growth and residential growth and development along 73. Have you gone to your local municipal government to express this also?
We stopped, we actually stopped two developments, one was in assisted living, which, we had, lawyers and.
Yeah, and there's a major hospital right across the street,
Right.
virtual hospital, beautiful healthcare facility. It's a great area. I mean, it's.
I'm really sorry to interrupt.
Mhm.
So,
Okay.
my name is Teresa, I just wanted to clarify a point. The area is not.
Can you give us your first name?
I'm so sorry.
Last name? Yeah, this is not like a discussion.
I know, I understand that, but I wanted to clarify a point.
Right.
My last name is Haas, first name Teresa. I live in Sturbridge Lakes as well. I just wanted to clarify a point. This is not a development along 73. It's our development is 73, between 73 and the Evesham border. And this would be a development in the Evesham
Township.
Township, yes.
Not in Voorhees.
Not in Voorhees, but yes, we have.
To the east. Right.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's Camden.
Camden Burlington. Camden
Yeah, just
Burlington.
to clarify, Voorhees Township, not in the Pinelands area,
Right.
on the border of Evesham Township. This portion of Evesham is in the Pinelands area of Burlington County. So you have two counties, you have two municipalities, and there's.
And some area in our purview and
Right.
some,
There
so
you go.
just so we're all clear, okay?
I would just like to make one more statement. You have to come
You
to the
have-
microphone and you have to say your name.
You have to say your name, this is, right.
Okay, I'm so sorry. My name is Dr. Amy Goldman. I just wanted to make a statement when you made a comment that we want to prevent further development, as since, Sturbridge Lakes was formed, we now have Sturbridge Woods, Sturbridge Hill, and Sturbridge Estates and Montebello. So all around the Pinelands has had, tremendous growth. That's in Berlin and Voorhees. We don't see the need for another development there. Thank you.
Right,
Thank
my
you.
point.
Any other members of the public in the room? All right. Any callers?
I would like to make a comment. Am I unmuted?
Yes, this is the person who called in earlier in regards to Brown.
Okay. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Again, Wilson Klein, Lumberton Township.
Right.
Actually, you addressed the question I had. Just something to bring to the commission's thoughts, because since the Beasley's Point project was just brought up a little while ago, I believe by a commissioner. Does the Pinelands Commission recognize the potential environmental impact of imploding or demolishing, whatever they're going to do to take down that smokestack from a coal-fired power plant, that I would assume, or I would make an educated guess, has a lot of toxins, carcinogens in the interior, the inside of that smokestack, and what demolishing it and allowing all that dust particles to settle in the area and the water is going to do versus trying to push whoever is the developer or PSC&G or Atlantic Electric to instead seal the tower and keep it on the property as a way to.
Right
Go
there, I
ahead.
apologize, just for clarification, that is not under the Pinelands Commission purview, what you're talking about, that is under the DEP purview. So, we hear what you're saying and take it under advisement during the public comment period, but that is not something that this commission is tasked with addressing.
I would add that potentially the dust particles could land in the Pinelands, being that you are adjacent to that property, and you have, there was a long-standing debate about the pipeline that was going to go along some of their right-of-ways down there.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else on the line or in the room who wishes to make a public comment? All right, hearing none, any commissioners have any final thoughts? Jerry? Oh, go ahead, Jerry.
Just as a general comment, we look at the CNP as our instructions and our constitution in terms of how we judge application. I would like to see, that document was made probably 40 years ago. 79, 80. I would like to suggest that we devote some energy in terms of, commitment of time from employees, from staff to, take under advisement some of the amendments to the CMP that should happen, because we are, seems to me that the CMP is being left in the lurch as it relates to current situations, current applications, current thought process. We have solar, which we didn't have then. We have redevelopment, which we didn't have then. We've got new stormwater rules, which we didn't have then. So it seems to me that we really need to devote some energy to modernizing the CMP to accommodate current applications. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner, and I do know that, the staff does, spend a lot of time looking at that and looking at ways. It's, as you know, better than I am, complicated, process. But absolutely, the modernization and the changing times, are a lens through which they are looking and, constantly thinking of ways to be most efficient in recommending proposed amendments and being thorough and thoughtful in that approach.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'll just add, stay tuned for the August P&I committee meeting. We'll be talking about.
Plan that segue. Jerry, you guys are in the boots.
We will be talking about, initiatives and a work plan for fiscal year 24 that we're in, and we'll be providing you with an update on our progress with amendments to the CMP that we have been working on over the past year, and what the priorities might be for the coming year. So.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to let the public know that there will be an memorial service for Commissioner Edward Lloyd in Princeton next Wednesday, August 16th at 11 a.m. at the Nassau Street Presbyterian Church, which is, I believe, 61 Nassau Street in Princeton. The public is welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other comments in closing?
Laura, I'd just like to thank our intern for her service and your presentation today. And I probably hired hundreds of people in my career as a public official for 33 years, and an intern and an applicant for a job that has practical experience rises to the top. So you're ahead of the game. Thank you.
Well, we want her to come back here. So you're our intern. Obviously, just kidding, but yeah. Thank you. Any other commissioners? All right, hearing none. Can I get a motion and a second to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?